You should do a West Coast IPA.
Okay.
So you're going to get a lot of the maltiness up front, and then there's a nice bitter bite on the back end.
Yeah.
Pretty much what you're really probably looking for in a pale
like
ale
that.
type of thing.
Yeah, that's a good beer. I really like that.
Mine's a wheat, and just a basic wheat.
Okay. Yeah.
Kettle leeks, a little bit of spiciness, a little bit of floral notes. Very easy drinker.
Yeah. So you're a level 2 Cicerone.
Correct.
When did you start that process?
All right, so I've been in the beer industry for about 5 years. I started out in bottle shops in my hometown, and then I moved on to distribution. And while I was at Tri-Valley, which is a Sheehan subsidiary, they were like, hey, you like to study, why don't you go do this? So I went and I got my certified beer server, and then just continued on, and I studied for like 8 months of drinking every night, blind tastings to get my Cicerone. And then COVID hit.
Oh, wow.
So everything kind of closed up, and then I got here.
Yeah. All right. So what is I started level 1, the certified beer server, and I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. After like the first couple hours of just studying for it, I went to branching out the next day and was just walking around trying to grab every beer that I had just read about. And it was really interesting to have that kind of a connection to the beers. You're like learning. It's like, oh, I just read about that style last night. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like using, like, in doing the sales aspect, like learning more about the product lets you teach people. People always love learning.
Yeah.
So every time I can bring knowledge to people, it's just, I'm a big nerd on beer stuff. Like when I'm talking about, like, I go into water compositions, I get into like different hop builds. I love doing tastings. I love, like, when I'm saying like my wife did like tasting for me, I did like 4 or 5 blind tastings a night where she would have a coffee mug with a beer in it, and I'd have to guess what it was.
Wow.
Sometimes it's really hard.
Is it as intense with wine when it comes to the tastings where you have to be able to identify the region and all that kind of stuff in the brewery, or are you just going based off just like the style?
It's a little different because wine is so regionalized,
Yeah.
where you can actually tell where the terroir, the grapes come from. With beer, like with the malts and stuff, like it's kind of a nationwide, like where you get your grain. So a lot of the beers taste the same. There's a lot of history to them because there's so many different styles.
Yeah.
But like, it's the same but different kind of thing. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, you share a lot of the different the same aspects, like with the yeast and the fruit, but there is an aspect of cooking a beer. So you're adding that process, which ends up changing a little bit of the flavors, a little bit of the history, a little bit of that.
Yeah. That's interesting. Nobody's ever used the word cooking the beer.
Well,
But that's what you're doing.
Because like you add on cooked, like caramelization, Maillard reactions. You add all these things into a process. When wine is, you stomp it.
Right.
There's nothing more, unless you have really hot feet, that you're not doing anything with it.
So, what do you find when you're going out and talking to people and trying to get the beer in restaurants and bars that they're really interested in like some of those details or just the educational process of beer?
A lot of places do. I mean, a lot of the new restaurants coming out are very consumer or customer friendly. So they're always looking for top of the line, the farm to table style stuff. So if you present beer in the same way, people look at it the same way. Like you're like, we got this from local, we got this, and they're like, oh, it doesn't matter what. Like they have no idea quality, they don't really know, but they do know that you're trying to bring local and taking an interest in what you're doing. So it kind of helps out in every way. I don't know.
Yeah, that's good to hear because my perception, which I'm not anywhere near as ingrained as it in it as you are, but my perception is like people are getting away from that and they're focused on like what's the name and what will sell, and that's pretty much it, and the style, and that's pretty much it. So it's really cool to hear that people are still interested in the educational side.
It's people get tired of the IPAs.
Yeah.
It's because, I mean, 90% of the market is, hey, what's your hazy IPA? And then, that's it. So if you have someone coming in, hey, what about this other beer? Like, have you ever had an alt beer? And they're like, I don't have a clue what that is. And you're like, well, it's kind of a mixture. And you're like, oh, I'd like to try something different. Maybe my customers would like to try something different. Like,
That's cool.
It's just providing options to everybody. Like, so it works as a team.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so you're on the road, going out there, selling, delivering beer, educating about beer. Is that something like? What's your favorite part about it?
I just love talking beer.
Yeah.
I just like sitting in front of somebody, drinking a beer, talking about a beer, teaching people how to drink. It's a whole science behind it. I actually went out. I was with my wife's cousin, and we went to an RV park with a bunch of hillbilly-esque people, I guess, bush light drinkers.
Yeah.
Just saying that.
Yeah.
So I started telling them and giving them a little idea of how, because I also do beer judging.
Okay.
So I gave them the idea of how you take a sip, how the whole process comes. And they were watching me for an hour, talking about sipping a Bud Light. And they just were like, you know what? All this science stuff never, because beer is always just fun times, and you never drink to think. When you're in the business, you drink to study, and then other times you drink something different for fun. But I just love talking everything beer.
Yeah.
And food.
Yeah.
Beer and food pairings is another big passion of mine.
Huh. It is wild to think that, like, Budweiser, they have, like, there's only, 3 or 4, like, master or whatever level Cicerones?
There's 26, and
okay.
4 of them work for Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Yeah. That's wild to think.
It's insane, because Budweiser is a really good beer.
Yeah.
And no one gives them credit. I'm like, they have 10 to 20 breweries across the world.
Yeah.
Every single beer is the same. Like,
All right.
the ability to make that much beer and always have it, like, you can drink a Bud anywhere.
Yeah.
It's the same beer. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, that's so crazy.
We were in Hawaii, and we went on a tour of, I forget the name of the brewery. It's like the biggest one out there. Kona, yeah. And that was one of the funny things that they were telling us was, you may not, when you're on, depending on where you are on the island, you may not be drinking the beer that was brewed here in Hawaii. It may have come from, like, Colorado or wherever. But one of the things they were talking about was, like, just the mineral treatment that you have to put into the water wherever you are to make sure that your beer comes out the same. And there's sometimes, there's, like, local, like, maybe a few years ago, breweries where I would go in and have, like, their flagship, and then go back a few months later or the next year and have their flagship, and it tastes different. And I've always wondered why.
It's mostly because of ingredients.
Yeah.
Like, when you're working on small scales, like, you're not getting this, like, like, every batch, every crop is different.
Yeah.
So when you're not dealing with huge, like Genesee, we're going to take, they have so many of those huge grain silos.
Yeah.
So they always have the same grain. If you talk to Brian, from time to time, it's a slight deviation. So that's what you're dealing with that.
Yeah.
Or if you're at a brewery that's not really that good, it might not be the same process into what they were doing, slight differentiations.
Yeah.
Cause slightly difference.
Yeah.
Or even you could have eaten something different.
Right.
And it's just perception.
Yeah. I always feel I don't drink as much beer when I go out to a nice dinner now because of that, because I know how much it might, screw up my palate. And there's a couple times where I was thinking about that, but I had already ordered the IPA and I was drinking it before dinner came out, and I was like, oh, fuck. I was like, that's like a sure giveaway that you don't know what you're doing.
You can sometimes drink an IPA with specific foods.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, when you're at most restaurants,
Right.
You don't have a sommelier or a cicerone sitting at your table being, hey,
You shouldn't be
wait
doing
until the appetizer comes out, taste the cheese first,
Yeah.
then drink, and then you're good.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. All right, so where were you? Like, what was your experience in beer before doing this? I know you said you were the.
Well, I'll start from way back about 10 years ago. I worked in restaurants.
Okay.
I was a cook. I worked at the Crazy Clam in Sylvan Beach.
Yeah.
And I worked there for 7 years. Worked my way up from bouncer up into executive chef-esque. We had a guy who kind of bounced in and out.
Yeah.
From there, I helped open up a restaurant in Sherrill called the Greenhouse Cafe.
Yeah.
I was there. I helped set up the menu and did everything there. And then also, I messed up my timeline, but before that, Kiko's Wine Bistro in Rome helped set up over there.
Okay.
They weren't there that long.
Yeah.
From there, I started working at Craig's Kegs Bottle Shop.
Okay.
Went from there, went to Beer Here in New Hartford's bottle shop.
Okay.
Started working for Omegang. Started working for Southern Tier, being a brand ambassador both places. Then Tri-Valley, and then here at ONCO.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah, a bit of a journey for sure. Yeah, it's wild, the world of, like, ciceroning in Central New York, because there's not many.
No, I mean, even in the state of New York, every level, I think there's only like 2,300.
Wow.
Like from Cicerone, Advanced Cicerone, and Master.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I think there's 3 Masters from New York and 100 something Advanced.
Yeah.
And who knows how many advanced or certified beer servers are out there.
Yeah. So do you get into like brewing at all?
I've did some home brewing. I've done some large commercial scale when I was at Omegang.
Yeah.
But pretty much it's a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
And I just like drinking the beer. So I kind of let the guys who like brewing brew it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. I always wonder, because like you wonder, somebody who goes on to get their master som or whatever the case is, like what are you going to be doing, and most of them that I know get into, at specific restaurants. I think that's probably where the money is. Mm-hmm. There's not many, and I don't know a whole hell of a lot of them. I know like a handful of them. But there's not many that like get into the production of it. And I've always wondered that with like when it comes to Cicerones, because Cicerones I either know of like a few of the masters who are just on the brew side, or the brew / ownership side, or just the certified beer servers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and I don't really know if any of them doing anything.
A lot of it is because it's not trying to talk bad about people,
Right,
but people
yeah.
who are brewers are usually more mechanically or engineer inclined. So there's a lot of numbers and like everything is derived on science. And then the Cicerone side is mostly developed like on history, like the service aspect and everything. So it's kind of, they cross, but like there's still like that disconnect. Because people who are English majors and math majors, they're friends, but they can only deal with certain things you put in front of them.
Funny. Yeah. All right. Well, before we bring Erin in, if somebody wanted to reach out who's listening to this or watching and they want to get ONCO at their bar or restaurant, what do they do?
They will either go on Instagram, Facebook, both ONCO. They can contact me at sales@oncoferment.com.
Okay.
And then ONCO@oncoferment.com are the 2 emails here that you can reach us, and they'll get to me.
Sweet.
And
awesome. Thanks,
thank
man.
you.
Appreciate it. All right. So, Erin, what beers did you bring me?
So I poured you our lager. It's our Kettle Lakes lager. We've got a whole new series of Kettle Lakes-based beers.
Cool.
A lager, wheat, a stout, and cream ale. So this is the lager.
Sweet.
Releasing today is the Aesthesis Cherry Lime Vanilla. Our award-winning Hyphen Nipa. And 15 miles alt beer.
Okay, cool.
So,
Sweet. What are
and
you
I'm
drinking?
having the hyphen.
Okay, cool.
I got to work today.
Yeah. Is that low percent?
4.8%.
That's not as strong, like in a good way. That's not as like strong as I was expecting it to be.
Full-bodied and low ABV
Yeah.
IPA.
Yeah, that's great. All right, so what's it been like so far? We're sitting in August. What's this year been like?
It's been unreadable.
Yeah.
You think you're busy, and
Yeah.
you never know what crowd you're going to get. We're seeing a lot of new faces.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of competition to entertain people.
Yeah.
Bowling alleys, restaurants. Everybody's doing music. Everybody's doing games and game nights, and so it's. Those weren't even in our plan. The plan was just beer, and then we
Right.
had to add food, and then you had to add music. So
Yeah.
it's always a challenge getting everyone's attention.
It is wild, isn't it? Like Mark Bullis said this on a podcast with me, and I guess you just saying what you just said is also kind of like tying it in for me. There's Mark was talking about back when the iPhone first came out, he realized that you weren't just going to be feeding people anymore. Now you had to be entertaining them.
Yeah.
And that is true. It's like you open up a brewery, but now you have to think of bands you're going to bring in and special game nights and all that kind of stuff to like keep people entertained. It probably sucks when you think about it that way.
I mean, we've always been about trying to sell an experience.
Yeah.
We don't plan on being so large where we don't know who you are, but we also at the same time won't always recognize somebody. But we try to everyone welcome to ONCO, and we make sure everyone is comfortable, knows how it works here, and like to be cozy.
Yeah.
And that's what we're being known for. Most people, they come in and they immediately relax, and they bring their friends the next day. So that's about one thing we've definitely got right.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. All right. So, of all the different aspects, what's your favorite part about owning the business?
just seeing a full room of everyone and hearing the beer names uttered around. Did you try this? Did you try this? You got to try this for them to sell the beer ourselves.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
What's your least favorite part?
Not knowing what to expect each day.
Yeah.
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 Really.
I couldn't imagine what that would feel like. I mean, we're a marketing company, so we kind of know every month what's going to be happening and all that kind of stuff, what's coming in. And having like a brewery, restaurant, event space, I can't imagine like thinking about like, oh, I wonder if there's going to be 50 people here tonight or 150 or 5 or, any of that stuff. Yeah. What was the manual that you read before about how to do this before you got in?
We went to every brewery on opening. We
Yeah.
spent years. We had a hop farm, so we were getting to meet people
Oh,
behind
really?
the scenes.
Oh, that's cool.
6 years we had a commercial hop farm.
Wow.
And then we closed that about when we opened this.
Okay.
So got to know the area breweries and made friends that way, and quality control, things like that.
Yeah.
In the meantime, home brewing and.
Yeah.
But yeah, so adding the kitchen was unexpected but necessary, and it's becoming another passion that
Yeah.
we didn't know. So for him, really,
Yeah.
I got to sell everything more. What's the menu today? Okay, I got to sell it. So of course we talk about everything, but
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think about the current state of craft beer in upstate?
it's definitely a little bit congested.
Yeah.
Mostly for us. I don't know if Tom touched on this, but yeah, all of a sudden this year really is the year that breweries from out of state are coming in to sell their product. So that's giving us competition. Everybody wants a shiny penny,
Yeah.
something new. So yeah, we've never wanted to chase the trends,
Yeah.
but we have to be aware of them. So
Yeah. Now, you guys just won some awards recently, right?
this year we won a gold for
Yeah.
for Hyphen.
Yeah. What's that do to business? I have to imagine that
It was really helpful. The media this year
Yeah.
carried that story on like 2 or 3 times, so
That's awesome.
that helped a lot. I published it in newsletter and things like that, but so it was a little bump, but the media this year actually helped us keep it going
That's
for a
cool.
while, and they're still asking for it today.
Yeah.
So it's something that we keep on almost all the time, and we can just keep using that as a little hook.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, for sure. I went out to Rochester and sat down with Rock Brewing, and it was like the week after the conference, and I forget what beer they had, but they had just won gold with it. But they had the day before the awards came out, they had sent their last keg off in wholesale. And so
this is the first year we won an award and we had it available for drinking after, because you can tell who's going to submit to an award because they're brewing all these beers and all of a sudden they have like 10 of these certain styles and they're going out there and they're hoping to win a medal on it, and we're no different.
Yeah.
But we happened to have Hyphen around and
Yeah.
out in the street, and so that worked out well.
That's cool.
Timing.
Yeah.
It was unexpected.
Yeah. All right. So when you all opened up ONCO, what was the dream? I mean, besides like having a brewery space for people to get together and just have great beer, was there a goal when you first set out of like, hey, in 10 years we want to be doing this? And I'm asking more curious as like a fellow business owner.
I mean, as far as the piece we touched on, needing food, needing entertainment, all that, none of that was in there.
Yeah.
We came on sort of just after line culture was starting to take a little bit of a dive, and not that we deserved line culture, but we have remained a hidden gem just because of our location, and that we didn't expect.
Yeah.
But we also didn't expect the town to come out like it has. So it was an adult coffee house. People are rekindling relationships. So that has worked out well.
That's cool.
And that's what we're keeping going.
Yeah. Right. So what's line culture?
Line culture is, I've got to release some, so stand in line to get like other half has seen, Mortalis sees, and things like that.
Yeah.
Hyped beers. Now a lot of people are brewing the same quality.
Yeah.
So people can get this beer anywhere in general. So again, we try to stick traditionally and not try to be over the top with flavor, so that
That's cool.
it's smooth. But so that hasn't changed, and that's where we always want to be.
Yeah.
Is consistently. Surprisingly good.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Without a lot of hubris to it.
Yeah. That's interesting to hear you say that, because I've always wondered, like, I look back at people. Somebody just shared a post a couple months ago of some beer release at Now and Later, and yeah, there was a line around 2 blocks, and the post that they shared was like only 1 4-pack per guest,
Right.
And I saw that, and that was before my time of working with Willow Rock or anything like that. So I was thinking to myself, how do you get that back? Like what caused everyone to go crazy over that beer?
I mean, you probably would have to come up with the next biggest thing for
Yeah.
that to really happen again. It still happens. There's still breweries that'll always get quick sellouts or attention on something. What was I going to say? So,
Yeah, it really is a weird concept, because like I said, I've never seen anything like that.
yeah.
I do for events, like if a brewery's having like their big anniversary party or something like that. I see like a lot of people there, but I've never seen people line up, in advance like that to grab a new style that was coming out from whatever brewery it was. You see a little bit with like Hetty Topper and Focal Banger, but even that's like the restaurants still post like it's a big deal, but you don't see nearly as many people posting about it online, like, hey, I got a 4-pack or, anything like that.
And you and I have talked before about social media. So it's a
Yeah.
little bit about, it depends on what window you're looking at.
Yeah.
So there's still people are still coming into craft beer. People are still enjoying it. People still are learning about it and open to it.
Yeah.
So you have to figure out how to reach those people. If you just look at a small window of people who are your on-tap followers or
Yeah.
the vocal in a beer group, you get skewed. So
Yeah.
that's what I've had to learn the last couple of years is to open my windows a little bit. So we're a little older. So a lot of our clients a little older. But we are seeing the younger people, so we're doing something right, and we have to keep working that to keep it going for the 10 years, as you say.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's being resilient, sustainable, those kinds of terms.
Yeah.
Pivoting. So
Yeah. Now, we were talking before we got started about like all the Oktoberfests coming up, and you all have got a really big one coming up.
Yes.
What's the date?
September 17th.
17th. Okay, cool. So you've got a special beer release, right, with Fritz's Polka Band?
We'll release our polka pills
That's
for
awesome.
Fritz's Polka Band, and then of course our 2023 Oktoberfest,
That's cool.
which will actually come out. Tom will sell that out a little bit earlier.
Okay, sweet.
But, so we have mugs, and we don't know the menu yet, but we'll have a menu
That's
themed.
awesome.
We've been pretty good at doing themed food menus with beer releases. Last weekend we did a bacon fest just for the food. We didn't have a beer release with it.
Oh, that's
so
cool.
we are growing the kitchen along. They're growing together.
Yeah, that's
so.
cool. It really is cool to see, just following you all on social media, all the stuff. You always have something going on.
It's exhausting. Yeah, let's do this. Okay, that means I have to do this. Because, I mean, I'm sure I could give some of social media reins out, but it's
Yeah.
really just, it's on the fly, and
Yeah.
I'm the only one who can do it at this point.
Right.
So,
Yeah. No, it really is. It's impressive knowing what all goes into the back end of even just thinking about planning an event to make sure the logistics and everything flows and all that kind of stuff. It's really impressive to see all the stuff that you all put out.
thank you.
Yeah. So if there is one thing, what's something you would say to somebody who's, in Syracuse thinking about coming down, but they've never been down to ONCO? I think I know what the first thing that popped in your head was.
Welcome to ONCO.
Yeah.
Check us out. We can tell, for the most part, if you haven't been here before, and we'll
Yeah.
make you feel welcome. And of course, if you want to hang out and be on a little date and left alone, we'll do that too.
Yeah.
Just explore all we have to have in the flavors. We have flavors coming at you from all directions. We have knowledgeable staff that love to talk to you about beer. And we actually ring a bell when someone drinks a sour or drinks a beer when they say, I just drink wine. And we do have something for your friends. We just rolled out a cocktail menu, which we have some Tully-themed
Oh, cool.
Moscow Mule, Kentucky Mule, Irish Whiskey Mule.
Oh,
So
sweet.
we just adds cocktails every day.
Yeah. That's cool. Awesome.
So
Well,
Brian has
Yeah.
baked 2 pizzas for you.
I know. Let's take a little break and
Brian,
we'll
come here.
grab some pizzas. So, have you always been into pizza, or was it just something you got into when you guys decided to do it?
The way I look at pizza is The dough is the vessel to get the flavors to your mouth. So you
Yeah.
can almost put anything on there.
Yeah.
As long as the combination's right. So it made sense to do that. It's shareable here at the brewery. A table can get 2 or 3 pizzas shared with different flavors, and they're not singled out to a single dish.
Yeah, for sure.
So
Yeah, that's awesome. Had you been making pizza at home? Like, what was the process of like getting your dough and everything?
I was actually looking at making some of our own dough. Talked to a few suppliers and manufacturers. Found a dough that I like, and a
good.
dough that allowed me to cold ferment it once I got it here.
That's cool.
Because that was going to be part of our process. It adds a lot more flavor to the dough, and
Yeah.
as you can see, it puffs up like crazy.
Yeah,
Not big into making pizzas at home like this. I'm just one of those that once we decide to go down a path, I research the hell out of it and
yeah,
cross our fingers and hope it works. We did some test runs, but
yeah.
so yeah, you've got the in a pickle pizza with bacon and fresh dill from one of the farms nearby.
It's really good.
The bacon jam, it's a habanero bacon jam. It's got a background heat.
Okay.
It's not going to be very
Not
spicy.
gonna kill me?
No, no. It's more sweet on the sweet side than anything else.
Yeah.
And then also some fresh scallions from one of our farmers. But we've done sauerbraten pizza.
Wow.
We did that for one of the German beer fests that we had here.
Okay.
So I look as any way you can
Yeah.
come up with flavors. There's going to be some interesting things coming out this fall. That may sound weird, but it'll work.
Well, first of all, they're both really, really good.
Thank
The sweetness on that's amazing.
you.
Yeah.
It's a weird way it works.
Yeah.
It's so
We had friends as before you all started doing pizzas, but last October, November, maybe, I forget what month, but friends of ours lived just down the street or up the hill, like 5-6 minutes. And we were all, another friend of ours came in from Buffalo. We were all hanging out there one night, and they were like, all right, let's go get pizza. And it was like a 30-minute drive
yeah.
to go pick it up and then 30 minutes back. I was like, where the hell are we going? He was like, we're going to get pizza. I was like, this is the only place to get pizza around you? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird. There are other pizza places in and around. I mean, there's obviously, especially you talk about the city, they're on every
Yeah.
street corner. But they are popping, especially the Cortland. We just decided to do it a little bit differently, and
Wow.
I kind of treat these like you do beer. If you can balance all the flavors out, and you start with a clean fermentation process with the beer and a clean way of putting the toppings or flavors on my dough vessel, I guess I call it,
Yeah.
to shove it to your mouth.
Yeah.
You can get it to work. And we wanted to be a little bit different with that. But we can pop out a pizza every 2 minutes.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah. So there's no hood, so what oven are you using?
it's actually a ventless oven.
Wow.
So that's the one thing we wanted to be flexible with. Location, we didn't want anything to take up. We didn't know it would take off the way it has here for
Yeah.
the pizzas. We're actually doing twice as many as what we originally thought we
Wow.
would do in a week.
That's great.
By a week, it's, the kitchen's open 19 hours.
Wow. Yeah.
So
Huh.
it went from, okay, we're busy, and then all of a sudden you'd have 60 pizzas in 2.5 hours that you're throwing out along with pretzels, and you're going, what the hell am I doing this for? But it's fun. I mean, I like coming up with the different flavors, just like I like coming up with different beers. So
Yeah. That's cool. So has this now become your life of like thinking about different pizzas to make?
yeah, the pizzas and the beers. Thankfully, I have a great brewer that works with me
Yeah.
part-time. So he's taken on more of the brewing side, even though I'm there every day. He likes to come in and take over. I'll get here at 3, 4 in the morning. He comes in at 7, so he'll take
3,
over.
4 in the morning.
Yeah. Yep.
Jesus.
Yep. So I'll get the first brew going, get to the boil. He comes in and kind of takes over the second part of the day, and I'll wander around doing odd things or being lost.
Those are like Texas barbecue hours, man.
Yeah,
3,
well,
4 in the morning.
It's the joy of owning a business, 3 times as many hours for 1/3 the pay.
My mother-in-law sent me something like that. She sent me a meme. Being self-employed or being a business owner, it's like you couldn't imagine working 40 hours for somebody else, so you want to work 80 hours for yourself and make less money.
I'd go for 80 hours right now. Thankfully, we're going on vacation next week. But,
Nice. That's cool. Yeah. Same here, actually. Where are you guys going?
we're going up Altmar, Osceola area.
Cool.
Just got a place on the lake and
Oh, that's awesome.
don't plan to do much
Yeah,
at
that's
all
cool.
except for kayaking and
Yeah.
drinking. So,
I mean, it's the same with everybody, right? You can't, when you're a business owner, you can't like fully check out.
oh no, well, we made sure the place had Wi-Fi so we could work
See
still.
what was
But
going on.
we trust our employees; they're great. So.
Yeah, that's cool. So what are your, as I asked Erin, when you all opened, was there something in mind of like, all right, in 10 years, we want to be here? Like we want to be doing X at that point? Because like, I did not start, it's very different businesses, but for Eat Local New York, I didn't open thinking or started off thinking like in 10 years, I want to be doing X.
It was more of what we don't want to do in my mind.
Yeah.
We've seen a lot of breweries, especially, which would hurt now, growing too fast.
Yeah.
Too big, too fast. We've seen that. You get that first year of excitement that people are coming out. Second year, a little bit more growth. By year 3, it might wane a little bit because that excitement's not there. But by year 2, they're already tripling the size of their production, and then it dwindles off. And more of this economy, people are watching what they're doing, spending their money. They want to go out, be entertained. They want every single bang for their buck that they can get.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily just about the beer or the pizzas. It's about what's going on there or meeting up with people. And once they get there, it's usually they're there for a few hours.
Yeah.
Which is nice for the businesses, but it doesn't share the wealth between everybody like it used to, unless you're probably in the Finger Lakes where everybody's hopping from one to the next.
Yeah.
So we wanted to naturally grow. Obviously, we weren't expecting year 2.5. So you kind of start back over after all that went through.
Yeah.
So we're getting, everybody pivoted during that.
Yeah.
You did anything and everything to bring $1, and now we're getting back to our roots. We're doing things with more local ingredients.
That's cool.
Being able to explore that realm and what you can do with it. So
Yeah. So if I asked you one piece of advice for someone who wants to open up a food service business, would it be to like take it slow and not try and jump too quickly?
that's a hard one because we always thought of the food as the background at our place. I mean, we're still about the beer, but it's also pairing them.
Yeah.
You still have to jump all head in, feet first, go. But do it the way that you think you can manage it.
That's good.
That's probably in today's world is what can you manage? Because we have employees that we can trust. We know there's a lot of trouble getting employees that can just working in the industry that we're in. So you got to be able to make sure that you can handle it in case they don't show.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the biggest issues that every business is having right now.
That's good. Well, I know you guys are getting busy. You're opening, so I'll let you go. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. The pizzas were
problem.
great.
Thank you.